So here we go. We're going to work with some special coils today. Because we've already worked with rolling coils, and we're going to practice rolling with coils. And in practicing rolling your coils, then we're also going to talk about what you can do with coils other than draw pictures. So I'm going to start with this size coil. It's a little thinner than my pinky, but that'll get us a good start. Make a few of them. And hopefully you noticed in the drawing with coils activity, some of the characteristics that if you bend them too fast, they might break or crack. So we're going to start with this. And one of the types of coils you can do, and this will lead to, like, you can use these for some building blocks, right? So I'm going to start with a spiral coil, and it's as simple as taking a coil and slowly and gently rolling it into a spiral, right? And then the next phase, we might be able to use some of these for building something tall, going vertical, right? If we are going to use them, so that makes a nice little decorative, right? Maybe a snail, maybe something, galaxy. If you are going to use it as a building block, though, look at how easy that pulls apart. And we should be familiar enough with clay at this point that we know that it shrinks as it dries. So if I want to use it as a building block and prevent it from pulling apart as it shrinks, I'm going to just score this side. And I might add a little bit of water. Inside those score marks, and then roll from there. And I just scored to this point, so I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to break this coil off. And so then again, I've got this little spiral, and this time it's scored. And so I could use that as a building block for sure. All right. So I'm going to set that here. Another special coil and something that you could use as a building block or to incorporate inside would be maybe some arches. Let's go with arches. Or a rainbow. So I just made a little curve, or a C. We turn it that way. Makes a little C. I'm going to score one side of this coil. I'm going to score the outside of this arch. And I'm going to gently press them together. And then I'm going to cut that off. And I'm going to repeat the process. And I'm going to work with it on its side. So I've got a nice little arch or a nice rainbow, right? And again, something that you could use as a building block if we turn it on its side. Now, part of the process should be refining, and you can see there's some evidence of the score marks, little crumbs of clay. And so I'm going to take the time and I'm just going to go through and clean that up by dragging my wooden skewer along that crease. A little bit of an angle, maybe a little bit with your finger. So there's some back and forth in getting some nice clean lines, cleaning up the evidence that we did the scoring. This clay is really soft, really very much in its plastic state. And so sometimes the cleanup like this happens easier. It's dried a little bit. So this might be good for a first round of cleaning up, kind of patting down. And I'll come back to those. You can do a folded, another type. I'm going to pre-score this coil. And very gently and carefully and not too fast making these, especially on a tight curve turn. Some zigzags. And I'll cut that off. I could continue though, if I wanted, depending on what I want this is kind of becoming a design element. And I could have them go up and down. I can have them go side to side. So that gives you a little piece to work with for some folds or some zigzags. And you'll get a different effect. If we made a much thinner coil to start, they would look a little bit different. You can also do donuts. So I've got a shorter piece, and I'm going to score just the tip of the coil, both sides, both ends. A little bit of water. Turn it into a donut. Pressing those two together. Again, with this clay is very soft and plastic. You can start to clean up that seam. So clean up on the inside. I might score this way as well. So that I get a nice solid connection. So I've taken a coil, made it into a little donut. Another aspect or another type of coil, the special coil you could do is to twist or braid. So the twisting is a little bit easier than the braid. But you can take 2 coils, and depending on how tight you want your twist, just kind of overlap them. And then you can, once you get that started, you can kind of roll it in opposite directions, make a little tighter twist. You can start to see that the coils are, maybe you can start to see, coils are starting to show a little bit of stress and cracking. So I'll go back with my finger and smooth that out some. If the clay is a little bit dry, you might want very little bit of water on there to help smooth that out. So that's twisting. If you're a little bit more adventurous, and I didn't score those, so those came apart really easily. If we're feeling adventurous, we could add a third one in there and do some braiding. So I've got 3 to start, and I'm going to take the outside left, and I'm going to move it so it's twisted over the middle, and then that becomes the middle, and then the outside right, and I'm going to twist it over the middle towards the left, and then that becomes the middle. And then I'm going to take the outside left, bring it back into the middle, and then switch to the right, bring that back, and then continue that process. If I were going to keep this, I would take the time to score in between each one. So right here, score, make sure that that taps down, and then score where the clay is going to connect. And then you end up with a braid. So we've drawn with coils, we've rolled out coils, we've drawn pictures with them. Now we're just making some building blocks. So we've got some different special coils. Another, not so much a coil, but you start with a coil and you take just a little piece off and you can make a little ball of clay. You can use that as a building block. And if you have 6 or 7 of them, you can build a little flower. You started with so there's a little flower. Again, if I were to go into build with these and construct, I would score in between. Good score on the back side and make it smooth. And that will help keep this one piece together. And if I smooth this out, so I have some little flower that's ready for use as a construction piece, a unit. If I made a sphere that was a little bit larger, it's a little bit larger, maybe the size of my thumbnail. And then if I slowly press that down and flatten it, Again, that gives me another bit to work with to get things going vertical. All right. Zoom in on those. And see the variety of different special coils that we made.